Knights everywhere. You won't find this happening all over the place in the States, but you will likely be called sir, or for a woman, ma'am, at some point in your trip. It's very polite.
You literally, I think it's more something for the South, but I think it's spreading a lot more in America. I'm not really sure where it actually originated from, but speaking for myself, it's really the South where that's really where, I don't know, I do it, and it's just a thing that I do. Like, I'm always like, ma'am, sir, you know, and if you don't really do it as an American, if you don't really do it to certain folks, they probably not speak to you. Like, it's like facts. So unlike other countries where they think being called sir or ma'am means that you're old, in America it's for respect. Like, it's dead ass for, let me not say dead ass, but it's literally for respect, like to show your respect for somebody. So you're like, ma'am, sir. Like, even a kid gets called sir or ma'am. Like, that's facts. What's good, YouTube? It is your boy DualBoss here, and we're back with another reaction video for Foreign Reacts. Today we're going to be checking out American things other countries find weird. So please do subscribe, guys, to this channel, Foreign Reacts, as we actually do only reactions that are foreign to the reactor on Foreign Reacts. So please subscribe, join the family, road to 4,000 subscribers for February. I know we're probably not in February as yet, but we're heading there. So help me to get to 4,000 subscribers. I'd really appreciate it, guys. Subscribe, like this video, suggestions, leave those in the comment section down below, and tell me anything that you think Americans do that are weird, or any other country, in the comment section down below. Let's get it, guys.
The word weird has come a long way since its origins in Old English. It was first related to destiny, or the power to control one's fate, and later was tied up with the supernatural. From there, it started meaning odd or uncanny, and odd and uncanny is what we'll talk about today when looking at folks in the good old US of A. Every nation has some kind of collective idiosyncrasy, such as those Brits that certainly talk about the weather a lot, or those Japanese that create cuddle cafes where lonely businessmen can repose in the warm embrace of a stranger by the hour or for the whole night. Male friends in some countries kiss when they say hello, women in other countries hide their faces, and this can seem weird for those who don't understand it. Today, let's look at just one country in particular in this episode of the Infographic Show, Weird Things Americans Do. A bucket of coffee, please. Okay, so maybe it's not only Americans that do this, but we reckon Americans excel at it. In a story by British author Julian Barnes in the book Lemon Table, one elderly British woman points out how waiters in some restaurants habitually keep filling up her coffee. It's quite nice, in fact, but in Britain, such service would cost you a small fortune, and Americans seem to drink coffee by the gallon. Go to France or Italy, and in many cafes, you'll find your cup of coffee isn't cheap and comes in a tiny cup or glass. Americans are mass consumers of coffee, and we doubt any country.
Let me tell you something, that coffee stuff, bro. I was addicted to coffee. Yeah, I was, and it really messed me up. Like, I could not sleep at one point in my life, and once I got off drinking coffee, I slept like almost eternity. But for real though, coffee is really deadly, and I was addicted to it. So I can kind of understand where he's coming from here, that it's pretty weird that you drink. I drink like, maybe I was drinking more coffee than the average American, right? I was drinking like probably six, 7 coffees per day, 6, 7 cups of coffees per day. Yeah, I was drinking a lot of coffees, a lot. And I'm not talking about decaf. I'm talking about the real coffee.
Comedian Bill Hicks made a joke about Americans and their coffee habit before he died. The joke goes, he asked for a coffee in one restaurant, and the waiter said, "You want the 32 ounce or the large?" "How big is the large?" asked Hicks, and the waiter replied, "You'll want to pull your car around back, I'll start the pump." The beast of the feast. So, you probably already know this, and you don't need to have visited the USA to have heard about it, but visitors often remark on how damn big portions are there. We've talked about this before, but not the real beast eaters. You see, in the States, all over the place, you've got those eat this ridiculously large, heart-stopping, gut-busting meal in 30 minutes and you get it for free. Godzilla would struggle to walk out of that deal without begrudgingly pulling out his wallet, yet there are names on the plaque on the wall. But why would anyone literally make themselves sick and pay for it? only an American could explain. The question was asked on Quora about this, and most people said food is cheap and big portions sell to the majority of people in everyday restaurants. But we like this answer, which kind of flips it. Your question might well be turned around to ask, why are portions in the rest of the world so small? The United States has a good food supply, and people expect value for their money.
Yeah.
Knights everywhere. You won't find this happening all over the place in the States, but you will likely be called sir, or for a woman, ma'am, at some point in your trip. It's very polite.
If you literally, I think it's more something for the South. But I think it's spreading a lot more in America. I'm not really sure where it actually originated from, but speaking for myself, it's really the South where that's really where, I don't know, I do it. And it's just a thing that I do. Like, I'm always like, ma'am, sir, you know, and if you don't really do it as an American, if you don't really do it to certain folks, they probably not speak to you. Like, it's like facts. So unlike other countries where they think being called sir or ma'am means that you're old, in America it's for respect. Like, it's dead ass for, let me not say dead ass, but it's literally for respect, like to show your respect for somebody. So you're like, ma'am, sir. Like, even a kid gets called sir or ma'am. Like, that's facts.
And visitors will have nothing against it, but being called sir will feel strange for most. Perhaps if you're in the armed forces, it might
Sir,
work.
yes,
Even
sir.
calling cops sir seems weird to outsiders. For most people, you have to be knighted to be called sir, although admittedly, some school kids in the UK might call their teacher sir. For Americans, it's a sign of respect. For anyone else, it's over the top. You'll find it's more common in the south of the US. Smokes and drugs. This is weird to just about anyone outside of the USA.
I don't know really much about like North. It's really South, South Carolina to be specific. So I can give you the insights on that really, but for the rest, I don't really know much. But yeah, it's really a southern thingy. I'm not really sure about the other states. Like, you know, I've never really been there for long enough to determine that. So I can't really say for other states, but for the South state, which not every South state, I'm talking about just South Carolina, I can speak for that, but I can't really speak for states like New York, Pennsylvania, you know, other states that I've been. I can't speak for those because I've never really been there over a period. So you can't speak for that if you get what I mean.
The fact that at some pharmacies or drugstores you can buy cigarettes. While many pharmacies in the US stopped doing this, you can still find it. It does seem rather odd that the place selling you things to improve your health would be selling you those cancerous sticks of tobacco. In 2014, CVS pharmacies in the US stopped doing this, stating, "We came to the decision that cigarettes and providing healthcare just don't go together in the same setting." Took a while to figure that out. Beer everywhere. While you must be 21 to buy beer in the United States, you can get it in some surprising places. One such place is the aforementioned pharmacy, but you can add to that. You can find beer sold in vending machines, at some clothing stores, some coffee shops, at some drive-thrus, and even some special hospitals will have beer for sale. These admittedly are rare. Accident lawyers. If you've watched the show Breaking Bad, you'll know there's a lawyer.
Accident lawyers, bro. I've never heard of accident lawyer in any other country in this world, bro.
Who will make sure you get paid for an accident you had or even didn't quite have. In the US, you can see signs for these sometimes sleazy guys on TV or even see their shiny white teeth on giant advertisements.
Billboards.
This used to be weird in the UK, but over the last few years, the Brits are also getting in on accident claims, and their TVs are also full of nice people saying, "Did you have an accident? Did you know you can get compensated for that? Call this number." Drug dealers on TV. The last thing you need when all you really need is some exercise and clean living is someone on TV telling you can buy a possibly addictive, happy drug that can solve all your problems. These commercials might have calming music, birds flying over rainbows, people skipping and dancing through the park, and then someone saying a wonder drug made that happen. The original Zoloft ad told you just shouldn't have to feel this way. Maybe not, but to many Europeans, pushing it on TV seems a bit too much. Drinking games. Now for something a bit more fun, but still related to drugs, if you visit America, and certainly if you're young, you might get caught up in any number of drinking games they have over there. Beer pong, that's gotta be American. Or what about truth or dare? Works better when alcohol has oiled the inhibitions. Or quarters. No cursing, no first names, no right hand accepting, no chance of staying sober. There's even Drinkapalooza, an actual board game for drinking. In most other countries, drinking isn't always that much fun. What happens in America stays in
in
America.
America.
Okay, so many of those videos out there on YouTube showing the glaring ignorance of some Americans about the rest of the world were made by Americans, so we don't feel like we are picking on Americans too much here. But it's not only just world history that some folks from the USA might not have read up on. We heard a story about a guy that asked an American friend when traveling in Europe what accent she thought she had. She replied, "I don't have one." She thought she spoke pure English. Another tale we heard was of a young man from West Virginia who met some Brits while traveling in Israel. He asked the Brits how the highways were in England. The Brits, jokingly, replied they didn't have cars and still used the horse and cart. The guy replied, "Wow." When the question was asked on Quora why some, and we say some, Americans don't know much about the world, the answers were mostly related to the education system, focusing only on the US and the country.
But even though it's focused on the U.S., it's not like everything from the U.S. is taught. Matter of fact, like, to be honest, oh my gosh, I just messed up my Zoom. To be honest, I just messed up my Zoom. I don't know how to fix that right now. But to be honest, the average American is not really the most educated. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about intelligence because a lot of people confuse intelligence with education. And smart and all of that stuff, don't confuse it. But most Americans aren't as educated, and even if Americans are educated, it's not like the European countries, because even today I was learning about education system in Finland, and they literally had, the math teacher had like, she knew, I think she graduated with a master's to be a teacher, and she had studied physics, chemistry, and math, right? And that's not something you'll find in America, right? So the average American is not as educated, and it's not really a shame to not be as educated. Education is a good thing, but it's not like you're gonna, like, I think personally, being educated about what is important is what matters. So learning about a country that you probably never visit in your entire life, it's not as important, but learning about the major stuff, I think it's really important.
Already being so big and diverse. The American writer and intellectual Noam Chomsky wrote that the reason why Americans know so much about sports but so little about world affairs is because that's just the way the system was set up for most people. Right. Is it weird? You'll find it everywhere, but those videos we see do seem to make some Americans seem quite ignorant of the world outside America. Let's just say if you can't get close to pointing where North Korea is on a map but hate the country, there's a problem. Peeping Tom. Okay, let's stop being.
I can't actually point where North Korea is, and I can't label the European section, but I'm learning slowly every day.
So harsh now. We'll turn to something amusing and ask why in the USA, some toilet stalls have such big gaps between the doors and the outer piece of the stall, so people can virtually watch you do your private business. Many Americans have asked this online. Foreigners ask this a lot too. One guy on Twitter writes, when you're sitting on the toilet and you make eye contact with someone through the little crack in the door. A woman asks, what's the point of a toilet stall door when there is a 2-inch gap on each side? Most answers we can find were related to safety, to know someone is in there, to get you out quickly, and making it easier to clean. There's a huge debate on TripAdvisor about the topic, but no one seems to know the answer. How are you? This could be said to be similar in other countries, but when Americans ask how are you, they are not usually looking for an answer. It's just a way of saying hello. An extensive reply about your ingrown toenail, your setback with Bitcoin, and the fact your father didn't give you enough attention at.
Okay, let me address this part. Pretty much the how are you statement, it's pretty much a thing where it's like hi. It's practically saying hey. So in Finland you'd say moi. In Spanish, hola, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Pretty much, how are you is practically saying hi. So it's not necessarily that it's a thing where you're being truly asked, how are you? For some, it is. Some people, it is, right? But pretty much in America, you just, if somebody asks you, how are you? And you want to be polite, you just say good and you, and you just move about your business. You don't necessarily have to answer, but some people can get hurt with you not answering, and you have to be a little bit cautious. Like, you got to read the person to try to understand whether or not it's a person who is trying to say trying to hear you respond saying, I'm good, how are you? Stuff like that. But for the average person, business wise, you enter to a business place, you just got to say, I'm good, and you, or I'm good, how are you? And you just start to talk about your stuff. Don't wait for a reply. Just keep it moving because you don't want to feel embarrassed. Because trust me, it's not like a conversation. It's more like a greeting.
The kid is probably not what your interlocutor was wanting or expecting. You can just answer with hey. The real home of football. Okay, as we've just had the World Cup of a game called football, we might as well go ahead and say that the rest of the world thinks America is weird for calling its strange stop and start game football. But we should tell you that it was the Brits that first called the game soccer, which is a diminutive of the words association football. The word sock comes from association, and The Guardian tells us Brits back then loved to put an ER at the end of words. Later, the Americans naturally called it soccer just as the Brits did. Then the Brits decided the word soccer sounded too American and let it go. Now, the Brits and Europeans had been playing this football thing since medieval times, and it was called football back then too. But there were many types of football, including rugby. That's why the word soccer became a thing. Americans just took the word football for their own game, just as Europeans had done. But to be honest, American football is much closer to rugby, so it's still a bit weird. But let's just finish with saying, if any Brit or European gives you a hard time about calling the game soccer, just tell them what we told you. They started it. You have no defense, though, for calling a game played mostly with the hands football. So, can you add to this list? Have you visited America?
I had no idea that it was actually I had no idea that soccer was actually the word was originated not in the Americas. I had no idea. But either way, so that was a beautiful video. If you have any more things that you think Americans do that are weird, please leave those in the comment section down below, and I'll definitely be sure to reply to as much comments as possible. But either ways, guys, we're out of here. Until next time, peace.